Hello, spookies, and welcome to the Rick or Treat Horrorcast, hosted by yours, Ghoulie, Ricky J. Duarte. I have Scream fever. I think a lot of people do right now. And in honor of the release of our 6th installment in this very popular, very impactful, and completely iconic franchise, my guest host and I are ranking our favorite installments from bottom to top, which is also my guest host nickname on the weekends. Welcome to the show, Colin Holmes.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to engage in the Scream fever as well.
Man, you are among the biggest Scream fans that I know. This is actually, Colin, this is your 3rd appearance on this podcast. You officially hold the record.
Ooh.
You were tied with a couple people. You hold the record for most appearances on Rick or Treat Horrorcast. How does that make you feel?
Well, it depends. What do I get as a gift?
You get to be on my podcast again.
Great.
You can be number 4.
Oh, then I feel great.
Perfect. Great. I'm really happy that you took the time to come back. It means you must like me or something.
I do. I really like you.
Actually, the 2 episodes that you have been on. So I keep track of like statistics and downloads and everything. The 2 episodes that you have been on are both in the top 10. So the Halloween episode and I think the Trick or Treat episode is maybe number 4 out of all of my. I think this is probably number 23. So not too bad. Yeah. It's,
nice.
You're doing something right, kiddo. Thanks for the thanks for the download.
Well, you're doing something right. I'm just here for it.
Honestly, I hope that I am. This show has grown so much. You were on it within the first couple of weeks of me launching it, and I mean, it just took him and I a good about 25 minutes to get on our Zoom meeting because I was having internet problems. So while that maybe has not gotten better, my editing and my format and my banter have all really improved. But thanks for being my little guinea pig in those early weeks.
Of course. Happy to.
Well, Colin, for old time's sake, because I have not done this little segment in a very long time, like a matter of months, why don't we play a little game? Colin, was your week a trick or a treat?
Ooh, okay. It has been a bit of both a trick and a treat.
Go on.
So I'm pretty sure I have like some sort of weird stomach bug, and it's just not getting better. So it's been a lot of, what is the brat diet, the bread, the rice, the applesauce, the bananas, all that. And yeah, so that hasn't been fun. But what has been fun is that I started dating someone who's been incredibly understanding about it and has also just been like the sweetest and like, kind of taking care of me and doing all that. So that's kind of fun.
Colin, that's so great.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's exciting.
Has he found out who you really are, though?
No. And he can't. Not until, there's something signed.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I suppress my true self, which is for the best.
Man, that is the name of the game. Are you finished with your little spiel? Are you?
Oh, yeah, that was it.
My week. Thank you so much for asking. My week.
I was about to. Okay. Whoa.
My week has also been both a trick and a treat. And I got to tell you, like early dating or early getting to know somebody, you have to really not let them see who you are.
Mm-hmm. You have to just choke down that crazy for as long as you can.
Last year I went on a string of dates throughout the summer, and I was convinced I just need to be my true, real. I need to let it all hang out just up front and just let someone know what they're in for. And that is not the answer to getting laid.
No, no, no. Like when you think about it, put it all out there and then take away like most of it. You know what I mean? Like go to approach a conversation being like, this is who I am, and then just start stripping away at that until you're just a shell of yourself. And that's what you use to date.
I think that's what love is, really.
I think that is what love is. Honestly, I've been watching a lot of Dateline lately, and for as many relationships that, that don't work out, a lot of them do. So I think it is very much hide things, until they find out.
Colin, I don't
And
know
then
how
you
much
get to be on Dateline.
I don't know how much dating advice you need to be taking from Dateline.
Is that not the purpose? I mean, date is literally in the title. Like, I don't understand.
Well, okay. Uh, I'll pray for you.
Thank you
Um,
so much. I need
no,
it.
it's I yeah, it's I have gone on a string of getting to know you experiences with someone recently, and I am myself. I just can't hide it.
Mhm.
The harder that I try not to be myself, the more crazy I become. But I don't know. I guess I don't have to be as completely upfront as I was last summer. Anyway, all right. So, I was out of town. I was in Ohio. I am exhausted from going out of town. I had no idea the Midwest was this tiring. But a couple of weeks ago, my friend Victoria was a guest host, and she directed a production of Carrie the musical at Ohio University, and so I was able to fly out and see it, and it was wonderful. If you're listening to this, it's closing this weekend. So the day that this is dropping, you have today and tomorrow to go see it. But I highly recommend it. It was a wonderful experience, a great show. She crushed it. She's so talented. But
Amazing.
I'm beat. I
Mm.
started I started so I thought it was a great idea before this trip to get my second monkeypox vaccine because I got the first one in the summer, right? And then
Mhm.
I didn't follow through with it because I wasn't, really out and about. I wasn't seeing it anyway. It was irresponsible. And I started prep on the same day. And I don't know if that was a great idea for my body to go through all of that at once.
That's a lot of trauma.
It
A
was.
lot of trauma.
It was, but I'm out of the woods now. I am out of the
Good.
woods. Yeah. Yeah. And then, oh
Well,
my God,
congratulations on both.
dang, starting to get some. So I may as well, take every
Yeah.
precaution,
Yeah.
including not showing them my true self.
Mm.
And then, oh my God. So, overdue update on my crazy upstairs neighbors, right? I'm going to try to make this as fast as I can. I've had a couple listeners ask me about this, and I'm really grateful to you for checking in on my safety. Obviously, the show is still going, so I haven't disappeared or been murdered in my sleep, but it looks like so it got to a point, y'all, where like they're just having people in and out all night long. This guy's clearly selling drugs. I'm hearing yelling all night, and it's just completely out of hand. He got his hands on my apartment keys at one point and tried to like hide them from me. I've never in my life done this before, but I carried my laundry home. It's 6 blocks. I'm tired as fuck from carrying it. I left my key in the door, and he got his fucking hands on it. And it was only 10 minutes later that I was able to find him and find them and get them back. So like, he didn't make a copy or anything. But anyway,
Mm.
what purpose would he have for taking my keys besides to use them? Right?
Unless if he was doing something nice where he was like, oh, they forgot their keys. Let me take them. I don't know. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, but
Yeah.
I can't really. That's really a reach there.
No, this was a lot. It was a lot. So anyway, I'm out of town this weekend. Apparently, from what I heard the cops saying, just tonight in my hallway, there was a breaking and entering somewhere in this building. So they broke into someone's apartment over the weekend. And then the police got into their apartment and found firearms and drugs. And so their door was like bolted locked. And today they came back and tried to kick down the door, and the police were called and they got away, but they have access to the building, but not their unit.
Hmm.
So if this is, and here's the thing
Wow.
too, I've been rewatching all the Scream movies, so these are all about someone breaking into your house when you're alone.
Right, right.
And my roommate's out of town, so my imagination is running wild. Anyway, listeners,
Hmm.
thank you for reaching out and asking. uh I don't know if I can expect them to come back or not. They can't get into the unit, and the cops have already confiscated their shit. But I am keeping, like, every time I come up the stairs, I like peek around the corner first, and I have my key in my hand. And anyway, that's that. Okay, so quick update. Immediately after Colin and I finished recording this episode, I ran to the store, and then on my way back, grabbed some food, and I get to my apartment, and they are arresting these squatters one by one. There were 3 of them total, and I wasn't allowed into my building. So I stood there and I ate my McDonald's French fries while I watched my scary criminal squatter upstairs neighbors get arrested, and I've never felt more like a New Yorker than in that moment. So the police are like searching the place now, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I will keep you all updated. All right, back to the show.
Well, that sounds terrifying, to be honest with you. I no good things to say about that.
None.
So
None at all, except this lease is up at the end of July, and hey, New Yorkers, I'm looking for a place to move. Oh my God, Colin, are you going to move in with your new boyfriend, or do you want to be my new roommate?
um no and no.
Oh my God.
I
Thank you for your honesty. Listeners, I'm looking for
you're
a place to live.
Listen, I've had a taste of the lifestyle of living alone, and I don't think I could ever go back to roommates. I think I would sooner get a second job or a third job to be able to afford to live alone than I would to have roommates again.
And that's the American dream, everybody.
And and honestly, like, I've always, well, not always, but I've liked my roommates for the most part, and I've never had issues live with them, but it's just like once you're on your own and like you can just come home and like throw shit everywhere and not worry about it. It's a wonderful thing.
You can fart anytime you want.
Literally whenever I want and wherever I want. And that's a majestic beauty that people, that live with their lovers or friends or whoever, they just never get to have that.
I don't know. Some people say when you can fart in front of your partner, that's how you know it's love. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Not great. Not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's something like maybe like picking your nose in front of the partner or like doing, I don't know, like semi-gross, licking your fingers in front of your partner, sure. But like passing gas, no, no, no.
That's a private experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially the way you pass it, Colin. Hey.
Well, listen, when you've been having a bit of a stomach bug, that is, it's not a good experience. So
No, no.
I don't want to have anyone bear witness to that.
I do hope you're feeling better. Yeah, it's I would love to live alone. It's so hard in New York City, you know.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is. My name was selected in an apartment lottery. If you don't know what that is, if you don't live in New York, listeners, the apartment lotteries are for affordable housing and they are income based. So basically, my name is now put on a waiting list, and I can't make too much more money than I already do, or I will be disqualified. But this could take 2 months of a waiting list. This could take 2 years of a waiting list. So we will see what happens with that. I know I will tell all of you all about it.
The affordable lottery, which is also hysterical to me because there have been times where like, I'll go in and just like peek around at some of the buildings, and some of them they're like, "Oh, you make $65,000 a year. Here's a $2,000 affordable apartment that you can live in." Like, you don't even take home that much on
No.
some of what they list, and then
Yeah.
others are great deals. So I hope you get it.
Well, I hope I do too. We will see. It is a nice building. I did maybe walk past it several times.
Where's the building?
Upper West Side. Fancy. It's
Ooh.
by a Trader Joe's, and there's a Whole Foods,
Oh
and there's
my
Central Park 1 block away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
But
that's a beautiful, beautiful area.
I'm gonna try not to get too
That's
not to
exciting.
get too excited.
Will I be like too lowbrow for you once you're up there? Are you gonna, stick up your nose at me or?
No, ever since COVID happened, there has been an influx of impoverished people hanging out in the Upper West Side. I'm sure you've seen the news reports, so you're welcome
Mhm.
anytime.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I can't wait. I'll just pick a corner and just kind of like, set up, set up shop.
Great, that's kind of your life here in Hell's Kitchen, also.
It is. It's a decent neighborhood to do it in.
Colin, how about? Do you have any horror movie recommendations? Have you watched anything that you loved or that you hated?
Yes, I watched, and it's old news at this point, but there's a movie on Hulu called Fresh. starring Sebastian Stan.
So good.
It is so good. I watched that for the first time a few nights ago, when I was cradling my stomach and crying, and it was fantastic. Like I loved it. I loved that it they were able to hit like a romantic comedy chemistry between them at so many points throughout the movie, and I was really impressed by that because I felt like it didn't half-ass any genre that it was hitting or any like momentary styles that they were hitting throughout it, and yeah, it the small cast really just made it feel very intimate and personal, and yeah, I loved it.
I'm so glad. That's a very you movie. I'm glad I found it very
Hmm.
late and it kind of flew under the radar, you know? Not a lot of people were talking about it, but the ones who were
Yeah.
loved it.
Hmm.
Sebastian Stan is excellent in that movie and he's so cute.
Mm. Ooh, did I ever tell you my story with him?
No, but you're about to.
Oh, yes, I am. So I was in Rome with a few friends a few years ago, and it was right when Avengers Endgame had come out. And we were walking around this kind of like it's like a Brooklyny, like, restaurant, young vibe area of Rome called I'm not gonna even pronounce it. And so we were walking down the street, and I walked past someone really quickly, and I was like, oh my God, I think that's Sebastian Stan. And my friend was like, who the fuck is Sebastian Stan? I was like, okay, well, n- that's rude. But I was like, oh, like he plays Bucky in the Avengers, and he's like, and I was just like fangirling over him because he's so pretty, he's so cute. And so we pop into this little restaurant, and we're sitting in this like outside corner, and my friend who's sitting across from me is like, oh, is that the guy that you were pointing out before? And he walks in, he gets seated at the table next to me, but he is sitting back to back with me. And when I say that like I was like near tears, I was so excited. So I kept slowly just leaning back, leaning back, leaning back, leaning back to where our shoulders were lightly touching. And I just kept it there. And literally, like, it was wonderful. I just sat there for like 45 minutes, like casually just stroking his shoulder with my shoulder, and it was a very wonderful experience. I hope he remembers it too.
I'm sure he does. Now, does that count as fraud? Does that count as fraudage? Is that what that is?
Is it docking? I don't know. My shoulder
No,
blade was kind of like wrapped around his shoulder blade,
docking
so I
is
don't
when you
know.
take an uncircumcised penis and you spread the foreskin over another penis. That's what docking is, and I doubt I doubt it went that far, Colin. I
In my
believe
mind,
in
it did.
you. I believe in
In my
you, but
mind, it did.
no, no.
Every time I tell this story, it gets a little further.
Oh God.
All of a sudden, we're standing naked. It's a whole thing.
That sounds very exciting. I hope he's a nice person. He seems like he might be.
He seemed very fun.
Good, good.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're in love, and that's the man that I'm dating.
Oh, well,
Hmm.
way to bury the lead with that one. Yeah, no, fresh, excellent. Listeners, if you haven't
Yes.
seen it, it's on Hulu, on the Hulu, and highly recommend. Highly, highly rec. I so last time I did this a few weeks ago, I forgot to mention that I saw Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And
Mhm.
oh man, I went to the movie theater with a friend and listener. Hey, Matt, shout out to Matt. And it was a movie I knew I wanted to see in a movie theater because I just wanted the rowdy, ridiculous crowd. But this was Times Square, too rowdy, too ridiculous crowd, very distracting and not in the fun way, in the like,
Mm.
oh, these people are complete garbage trash way. Anyway, not missing much when it comes to that movie. It was such a missed opportunity, in my opinion. You know, their faces like it looks like they just put on vinyl masks from Spirit Halloween store, but they're supposed to be these like living hybrid creatures. You have these characters, and you're not giving me Winnie the like. You could cut that movie, cut and paste it into any Z list horror slasher, no budget that you can find on Tubi, right? And it could be called anything. It's just they just happened to call it Winnie the Pooh. Like it had nothing much to do with those characters or the property. Not enough to do, you know.
So it is actually Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. It's not like someone dressed up as or like an alien that takes their form kind of thing.
It is. So this is not it's not much
Huh.
of a, it's not a spoiler because this is all told with you within the first minute and a half. There's kind of like a prologue scene. But Christopher Robin goes off to college and leaves them behind. And so they never forgive him for that. And they grow into these monstrous, angry beings. And some of the gore was fucking cool. I gotta say, there's one shot, I won't give it away, that really, got the whole audience. It's just they also, don't go back and try to add more blood with CGI. It just doesn't look good. If you're a
Mhm.
no budget production, it's never going to look good. And
Yeah.
the rest of the gore was pretty good looking,
Hmm.
admittedly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then the only other one, I started watching The Outwaters before I logged on with you, and then I got distracted with my neighbors and the cops outside and everything, so I didn't get to finish it. I've got about 20 minutes left, and it's fucking weird, man. People are comparing.
Hmm.
It's like Skinamarink. It's a vibe. I know. So Colin is the friend that I went to see Skinamarink with, and 30 minutes in, Colin wanted to leave, and we have very different opinions about the movie, which I
Yes.
think is amazing and interesting because we're both avid horror fans, and we both took something different from it. Colin's experience, namely being that he wanted his money and time back, and mine being that I had to sleep with my hallway light on that night. So,
Uh-huh.
anyway, it's being compared in mood and tone a little bit to that, but found footage. I think that there's a lot more happening for the plot in the Outwaters. I don't know how it ends yet. I probably shouldn't have brought it up because I haven't finished it, but it's just as kind of polarizing for audiences, it seems, as Skinamarink. They came out around the same time. Not the same movie in the least. One of them takes place in the desert. One of them's in a dark hallway for an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, guys, I have another update. I did finish The Outwaters, and it's a hell of a movie. It's real bonkers. It's real out there. I don't know if I liked it or not, and I like that about it. I felt really bad that I had to stop the movie almost at the climax and then come back to it later. So I did watch it again, start to finish. That is how I recommend it. Turn off every light. Do the same thing I recommend for Skinamarink. For Skinamarink, turn off every light. Put your phone away and just sit through this movie and figure it out for yourself. And don't go off of what anybody's telling you about it. Horror fans are always asking for something original, and we're sick of reboots and we're sick of remakes and the same stories told over and over and over again. And as soon as we get something unique and original and one of a kind and subversive and strange, everyone starts shitting all over it and complaining about it. And I think that it's at least worth giving movies like this a chance. Let's encourage new artists. Let's not let them get buried because of negative responses. If you don't like a movie, that doesn't make it a bad movie. There are bad movies out there, but just because you don't like something doesn't mean that it's bad. I do recommend it. It's something unusual and unique. There's more there than maybe your initial reaction to it. And I think it's a very interesting use of found footage. It's not my favorite genre by any means, but I think that this film makes it refreshing and does something with it that I hadn't considered. Watch it. Let me know what you think. Like, message me because I love to talk about this movie. All right. Okay. Back to the show. And yeah, and that's it. I also saw Scream 6.
I also saw Scream 6.
Why don't we move into the Scream franchise? Let's go Rick or
Yes,
treating.
please.
All right, so if you follow me on all right, so if you follow me on social media, you have seen me bragging left and right that I was at the premiere of Scream 6. I was a plus one. My friend Brian brought me. Thanks, Brian. I will always, always, always owe you for this awesome experience. It was held here in New York City at the Lincoln Square AMC, and I showed up. So the ticket was pretty vague on what this was going to be. We knew this was going to be the premiere. We knew that the cast was going to be there, but it had kind of a fan event attached to it. I got in line at 3 p.m. The ticket said arrive no later than 5. So I'm there at 3. There's about 20 people ahead of me, right? I'm certain that I'm going to get into whatever this fan event thing is. Now, throughout the course of the next few hours, we had people like, here's the thing. If you're holding a place in line for like 1 or 2 people, that's to be expected. And I totally understand that. But these trashy asshole people standing directly in front of me, they were pulling like other trashy asshole people from the back of the line and putting them in front of me. And essentially, what happened was after standing in line from the hours of 3 to 6 p.m., they cut it off completely right when me and my friends got to the front. And we did not get to go to the fucking red carpet because these assholes took all the spaces. But we still had a fucking great time. Here's my whole thing. And I had a friend on the red carpet who made it. He's texting me pictures with like Jenna Ortega, and they gave everybody masks. And there's Courtney Cox and Kevin Williamson. And anyway, so then get this, we waited 2 more hours in the theater for the red carpet to end. But it was totally, totally worth it. We actually had an incredible time. So there were two screening rooms, one for the Hollywood folk, and then the one next to it was us, kind of the fans, right? And so once the red carpet ends, everybody shuffles in and the movie starts. And it was the perfect audience to see this movie with because it was people who wanted to experience Scream, right? And boy, did we. We'll get into it for sure once we get to the experience. But I mean, my initial reactions to it are obviously that I fucking loved it. What about you, Colin?
I also loved it, to be honest with you. I thought it was what they were trying to do with five, just done successfully.
Interesting. Interesting. I'm going to make a
So
disclaimer real quick. I have waited 2 weeks since this movie dropped to release this episode because I wanted to give all of you plenty of time to see it because we will be talking about all six movies in the franchise in this episode. And so moving forward, there's going to be spoilers for all of the films, including Scream 6. So I'm going to give you guys about 30 you're going to get 30 whole seconds to turn this off, go see Scream 6, and then come back. We're starting the clock probably like 20 seconds ago. I don't know. 30 seconds is a stretch. All right, moving forward
yeah,
from this point, spoilers. Uh yeah, it was fucking good. It's so
it
scary.
was
Well,
really
all right.
fucking good.
But why don't we wait
Hmm.
until we get to that movie to talk about it?
Yes.
Colin, when is
Hmm.
the first time that you saw the movie, the original Scream?
So I saw it because I'm so young. I saw it on, I think it was VHS. I don't think DVDs were out yet. Um, I must have been, I would say around 8, 9 years old. I loved scary things from a pretty young age. And that was one that I always was just fascinated with. I used to love going to Blockbuster or to Hollywood Video and just walking down the aisles and like memorizing all the different VHS covers. And so like the screen cover was just something that intrigued me so much for some reason. And yeah, and so I remember watching it. I was pretty young. I don't remember like the first time I viewed it, but I do remember introducing the movie to other friends of mine who were definitely not allowed to watch horror movies at that time. Um, yeah, and I to this day is still my favorite franchise. So whatever criticism I come bearing in this episode, know and understand it is still very much my favorite.
I totally dig that. Listen, I don't think that there's a bad movie in the franchise.
No.
And that's saying a lot because most franchises have several bad movies.
Mhm.
The first, so I heard about Scream on the playground long before I was allowed to ever see it. One of the kids on the playground at school was allowed to see it, and he told us all about it. Same thing happened with Nightmare on Elm Street, actually. And so I had an idea in my head of what this movie was, and the movie was a lot scarier than I thought it was going to be. So my relationship with horror and my parents was like sometimes my parents would let us watch the most disturbing horror movies and sometimes they wouldn't, and there was no rhyme or reason.
Mhm.
No, like one particular thing was more taboo than the other. The constant throughout it was sex was bad. Like anytime that there was a sex scene or titties in a movie, we had to literally leave the room.
Mhm.
But we could watch people get gutted and decapitated, and that was fine. Which all of this is why I'm in therapy now.
It was actually very similar for me because my father, who is, a deadbeat, in a lot of ways, so my parents got divorced when I was very young. And so my mom would be, strict and motherly and the way that a parent should be. And my father was like, the cool dad. He was like, "Oh, you want to do that? That doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. You can do that. Whatever. It doesn't matter." So when I started wanting to watch, scary movies when I was a kid, I had full permission to. And I remember like being terrified, especially of like ghost movies. Ghost movies always scared me, but for some reason, like psycho killers and gore just didn't scare me, even as a kid. So, yeah, so I started watching them at his house, and then I would never tell my mom that I watched them at his house because then, I didn't want to get in trouble. So, yeah. So whenever I would go over, I would find another way to traumatize myself in some way.
And look how you turned out.
Yeah, yeah, talking about the love languages of Dateline.
Exactly.
So,
Oh man, Sydney Prescott really was your hero.
oh, she was very much so.
I have to wonder if I saw, and I can't remember if I saw Scary Movie or Scream first. And I hate that about myself. I
Mhm.
hope to God, I'm quite confident that I saw Scream before I saw Scary Movie, but God Almighty, I really, if there's any chance that I saw Scary Movie first, I'm gonna be really disappointed in myself.
Yeah, I think I'd actually seen them around the same time. I had a friend who was obsessed with scary movies, and he got me hooked to them as well. He was part of the influence. And I remember we used to like play at his house, and we would film like spoof movies and like be like, "Oh, this is gonna be the next scary movie." And so like I remember being maybe 8, 9 years old and doing that. And so I think I'd already seen Scary Movie at that point. I probably didn't understand any of it, but then I know that I would have seen Scream at that point as well. So I would assume mine were probably around the same time.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. This franchise really kind of raised a generation. And I know some
Mhm.
people who were, it just kind of defines the genre in the 90s, but I really feel like it formed an entire type of horror fan as well and nurtured us and maybe even instilled in us a respect for films that came before us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because it calls back to so many of them. There's so many references throughout the franchise to horror films of yore that it made me curious about them, you know?
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
probably
I would
saw
agree with that.
Halloween. Probably saw Halloween before I saw Scream. Halloween's one of my earlier memories. So even to like watch Scream and have all of those references to the film, having them use the soundtrack in the movie, at Stu's house is so cool. But from there, learning more and more about all the other references was a big deal for me too. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and start with our ranking? So, listeners, we are going to start from the bottom up again. Not a bad movie in this franchise as long as I'm concerned, but we have our favorites. Now, this is not
Mhm.
definitive. I'm not trying to come for anybody who likes a certain movie more than I like it. Like, there's enough fighting like that online. This is just me and Colin talking about the Scream movies and which ones we prefer.
Mhm.
But I do want to hear back from you guys if you like agree with something that we say or something that we don't say, or if you hate the way that I ranked this, let me know, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. Just kidding. One more thing. We're going to list the movies starting from bottom to top, but we're not going to talk about any particular film until we have both ranked it. And if that doesn't make sense to you now, it will as we go along. Essentially, we're not going to end up talking about the same movie twice. It'll just be I rank a movie, and then when we get on Colin's list where he ranks that movie, then we'll talk about that movie. Do you think I explained that okay, Colin?
I think so, but I'm also going to let you lead the way because I may also be confused.
All right, fine. All right, so starting off our list, our number 6 favorite Scream movie. Colin, what is it?
3.
Wow. Oh man. So I think this is going to be a really interesting episode because I think you and I have very different tastes in which movies we like the most. All right, 3. 3 it is. My number 6 is number 4.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
I know it's well, we'll talk about it when we get to it, but I did rewatch it last night and I started it and I was like, oh, maybe this is better than I remember. And then it just trailed off for me. But we'll talk about
Hmm.
that. We'll talk about that. All right. So, number 5 on our Scream ranking. Colin, what's your number 5?
5.
Okay. That's respectable. My number 5 is Scream 2.
What?
I know. I
Are
know.
you
I know. I
serious?
know. Yep.
Are you? Oh, okay. Okay.
I
All
know.
right.
We're going to have it out. I feel like we're not going
Mm.
to get to talk about any of these movies until we're down to like the last two or the last three. Uh, two, man. Again, not a bad movie in the franchise. Two is a great movie. Some of the others are, they do it for me better. Man, we haven't talked about a single movie yet. Colin, what is your number 4 favorite Scream movie?
Scream 4.
Scream 4. All right. Hey, we both mentioned it, so we can both talk about it. Why don't you tell me all about Scream 4?
Okay, so what I love about Scream 4 largely is the opening sequence. I think the opening sequence as a way to connect like nearly or over a decade of time from Scream 3 was brilliant. I thought it played so much into what was happening at that time, which is still happening quite a bit, which is just like cranking out old material and new clothes. And it really hit on, just the way horror was going at that time. And I feel like it made Scream feel relevant to me again. After Scream 3, I felt like that bandwagon was just kind of that had taken off. And I didn't think Scream 4 was going to be uh, able to bring back that magic, and I felt like it did. Is it my favorite in the series? No, but I think it's a commendable effort in reviving a franchise that, had it done better in theaters and had the marketing been a little more strategic, the way that it was with six, which was like brilliant. Had that been in place, I think we would have seen five, six much earlier, and I think it would have been under Wes's work.
Sure. Yeah. Four for me, it like I said, it started out good. It is actually my least favorite opening scene out of all six movies.
Really?
Yeah, it is. I don't mind the fake out, and I get the Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell the moment of, number 6 is number 7. Like, I get that.
Mhm.
I don't when it gets to the real life actual girls that are murdered, I don't care about either of them. And I don't think that that particular sequence is very well shot for me personally, compared to other sequences, compared to other opening scenes.
Mhm.
Can't explain it. Something about that whole movie is off. The Instagram filter that that it's shot with, everything's kind of like got a yellowy golden glow to it,
Mhm.
that doesn't look like the rest of the movies. And every time, and I've watched this movie several times, and about the same point in the movie, I just start scrolling my phone every single time, and I can't help it. And then I put my phone down again when we find out that Jill is Ghostface. I guess I put it down in Kirby's big scene, and then I'm fine for the rest of it. The hospital
Yeah.
scene it's not like the end of the world for me. I don't, I can take it or leave it,
Mhm.
And also, if I can be perfectly honest and say something controversial, I actually really can't stand Emma Roberts in anything that she does.
Oh, no, I can't stand her. I've never seen something that, like, even when she was in American Horror Story Coven, I was like, oh, I like the character. I like what they're doing with the character, but I still hated her.
I think,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
I think Scream 4 might be one of her better performances for me,
Mhm.
but she, I hate to talk bad about somebody. She comes off as bored to me in
Yeah.
everything that she's doing.
But I do think that it worked for this character specifically. I feel like her kind of like not so great acting talents really played up that character for me in a way where it was like she's just absolutely ridiculous and like cannot be taken seriously. And that's how I feel about, people who are looking for, stardom via posting a picture of themselves in a bra on social media. Like that's how I look at those type of people where it's just starving for attention. And that's what her motive was just looking for that attention. And I felt that her performance made that to be believable for her.
I can agree with that. I did notice something last night when they're in the classroom and all the kids start getting text messages and alerts that there was a murder at the same time. She does not look at her phone. She sits in her desk and does nothing. And it's like
Hmm.
from that moment, if you know that she's Ghostface, she's not looking at her phone because she already knows,
Right.
which I think is kind of a tell. It is a Wes Craven film. You can feel his hand in it, and I love that. I do like the use of Gail and Dewey for sure. I think I I don't love the whole garage scene with the book agent. It's
Mhm.
hit or miss for me.
Yeah, that scene I felt like could have been a bigger, more built out chase scene. And supposedly they went back and did reshoots for that scene to
Okay.
add more to it. And it still feels like it's a minute too short.
Yeah, but then it doesn't drag on because then you have the shock of her body being dropped on the van
Right.
afterwards. So that's effective. Yeah, again, no bad movies. It just is not my favorite.
Hmm.
So let's see. Scream 4 was your fourth favorite. My fourth favorite is Five Cream. Scream 5, which we have both listed. So let's talk
Hmm.
Five Cream. You go first. What do you think?
So we saw Five Cream together
We did
and
twice.
twice in the same night. And then I saw it again like 2 days later. Um, I I liked Five. I really did. And I like we said, there isn't a bad movie in here, but I felt like Five did not have the Scream feel. I felt like if they were to take out the connection to Billy through Samantha Carpenter, it could have easily been just another like slasher movie. It didn't have the chase sequences that I love. It didn't have like those thrilling moments other than um, Judy and Wes, which also felt like it was edited down to be too short. I feel like there could have been more there with Judy specifically. Um, and other than that, I can't remember like any real moment in there where I was like on the edge of my seat. I do feel like they were able to bring in some of the camp while still making it feel more like a serious horror film than three did, which we'll talk about, um, which I appreciated. But yeah, at the end of it, I was like, okay, this is fine. Billy, the visions of Billy, hated it, hated and it seemed to overpower the character versus like actually having a character being built out. So to me, at the end of it, I felt that Jenna Ortega was going to be a very strong final girl. And then I was like, all right, Melissa Barrera is there, and hopefully they do more with it.
I think you made some really valid points, and I do agree with most of them. I think it's a strong opening. It was really surprising to
Hmm.
have the opening kill actually be an opening survive.
Yes.
Completely unexpected. Jenna Ortega. This was before X came out. Was this the first time? I think this was the first film I ever saw her in.
Yeah, I
And
think so too.
yeah, instantly enthralled. I think it was shortly announced. I think it was announced shortly after this that she was going to be Wednesday. And just based on this performance alone, I did think that was an appropriate choice. I don't love
Hmm.
the show, but I love her in that role, right?
Yeah.
Scream 5, I thought it did a very good job of introducing us to a new set of people that were very interesting. And I think that's something that has been hit or miss with the Scream films is are our side characters interesting? These were
Hmm.
not meant to be side characters. These are the characters who are going to move us forward in the next branch of this franchise, right?
Right.
I just thought they were interesting
Yeah,
and
I agree.
fun and funny. Melissa Barrera's performance got some shit, but you pointed something out to me. She's given a lot of like clunky expository dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a burden on her. And then Jenna Ortega just kind of listens the whole time and reacts, which is hard as well. Reacting and acting is hard, but Melissa, it's kind of a daunting task that she's given. And
Right.
I do think
Yeah.
in the end she really pulls up and like, does her. And then I mean, we'll talk about Scream 6, but she's fucking great in Scream 6. I think she's given a
Right.
lot more to work with in that film.
Right. I agree. And that's why like the whole Billy Visions, it felt like it took away from there being potential for her to like really shine in that movie. And because I do think she's a good actress, and I think she's good for a final girl, as we've come to see. Um, yeah, I felt like it kind of shot itself in its own foot by going that route and adding in not like a supernatural layer, but adding in a layer that was there in three, but making it such a pivotal. We're gonna start that over again. Making it such a pivotal.
I'm not cutting any of this.
You are cutting all of it. Making it such a pivotal plot point that she sees the shadows of her father. Um, it took it out of a dream sequence where I thought that worked and was okay with Scream 3 and made it into more of like a I don't know, kind of like a supernatural slasher flick, which just didn't feel right to me. And yeah, it didn't feel Scream to me.
I all right. First time I saw the movie, the Billy showing up did not bother me at all. I don't think it bothers me still, except at the end when she's looking for a weapon and she looks at the green umbrella, which is a throwback to the first film, right?
Mhm.
Stab with a green, and then he like indicates where she will find a knife. And then I'm like, wait, is he a ghost? Like he just pointed to a weapon that she couldn't see before. Or is that
Right.
her thinking like her father and where would I find a knife? Well, you wouldn't be able to, it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's the line? I gotta say, and I was gonna say this when we talk about Scream 6, but how long are we gonna pretend like Skeet Ulrich looks like a teenager? Like
I
let's
mean,
be
listen,
real.
he can still get it. He can actually get it more now than he
No,
could
dude,
then.
he looks great. He is aging
Hmm.
very well, but
Oh yeah.
he does not look like a 18, 19-year-old, and there's no way around that.
Yeah. I'm hoping with how Scream 6 ended that that part of it's done.
I think it is. But why don't we
I
why
think
don't
it
we
is too.
why don't we save that?
Yeah.
Uh, 5. What else can I say about it? I loved Judy's death because all right, let's
Yes.
talk about Wes first. What a
Yeah.
wasted opportunity for a great chase scene, right? You're
Hmm.
already showing this like cute boy in a shower, you're throwing back to Psycho and kind of subverting our expectations for what a shower scene should be in a slasher movie. And a lot of people love his death scene with the slow stab through the neck, but I did not. You can tell it's CGI, painfully aware that it's CGI. And I really wanted to chase through the house. I just thought it was going to be
Hmm.
great. Now, what I did like was first off, what's your favorite scary movie? Judy Hicks saying, I only enjoy animated films and musicals. But when she jumps out of the car and she's running to save her son and she just almost gets to the door and then runs into the knife from behind the bush, that was very surprising because that was
Hmm.
what we expected to be a chase scene and it was not. So I
Right.
remember the audience's reaction and it was big. It was not
Yeah.
expected.
Oh, everyone screamed.
Yeah.
It was
So
like I would say it was the biggest jump scare in the film.
yeah, I don't mind that not being a chase scene because we thought it was going to be and then it was, a big surprise.
Hmm.
But you're right, there was not a single chase scene, and so that was one of my hopes for 6 that they would amend that, and boy howdy did they ever. All right, I think we can move on to our third favorite Scream movies. Colin.
6.
6.
Scream 6.
Solid
Hmm.
choice.
Yeah. How about you?
It's not my choice. My third favorite is Scream 3.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
Now we both listed
Okay.
Scream 3, so we can talk Scream 3 now. I'm going to go
Yes.
first because I know everything you're going to say. People hate this
Okay.
movie, and I understand why, right? You had Columbine happening just before they went into production, so they were forced to tone down the violence in this movie. And they do. There aren't a lot of very creative kills because of that. They do go for a comedic approach that works in some ways, does not work in other ways. I think that the kind of ghost of Maureen Prescott is hokey for sure. This like haunting Sydney, come here, Sydney voice is really dumb. And the whole bloody body bag gag, almost maybe like a ghost with a bed sheet over it. Is that what they're going for? I don't know. It looks kind of silly. And yeah, I guess Maureen outside the window too looks Sydney looks silly too. I can't help it. First off, this is Sydney Prescott's best haircut in the entire series. It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's like her post-college queer exploratory haircut.
I don't know. She got pretty queer with it in two.
It's a little more like this
It's
is
a
a little more mullety, just a
Yeah.
tad.
This has a little bit more of a butchness to it,
Yeah, which I
which is
love.
nice.
I
Yeah.
think she
Scream
looks
2 was like experimenting with lesbianism. This was like full throttle lesbianism,
I
which
do
I
think
love.
who someone told me yesterday, why couldn't they just give Sydney like a constant career, because she's like an actress and then she's a women's help like hotline operator and then she's an
Yeah.
author in another movie, you know.
Yeah.
And so I love Three's commentary on Hollywood. I did think it was very interesting. I watched it last night. You know, the idea, and it's not handled with very much care, but the idea of a woman being taken advantage of in Hollywood and seeing that through a post Me Too lens was pretty interesting to me. You know, I think that there are some really good performances. I'm not going to bring up Gail's bangs because I know you're going to. I
I was about to say, where we gained a haircut, we lost a haircut. So
Man, I remember watching this movie with my mom, and it shows Courtney Cox, and she just goes, "What the hell is that?" It's a choice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you seen the interview of her where she is talking about like what happened?
no, please tell.
So I guess, and Grant, I haven't watched the interview in a few years, but I guess what had happened was they were going to go for the bangs look, and it was a wig, of course, and she was actually very excited about it. And I guess what they did, they only had like a handful of wigs for her, and I think throughout time they whittled it down to really just one. And I guess what this person did was they like drew a line halfway through her head and then combed her hair forward and then just cut. And so when you do that, you're cutting uneven throughout like the body of the hair, but the bangs that are actually in the front, they get super short. So
Yeah.
then they had to try to like wisp it and try to like, make it look
Oh,
natural versus like a straight cut. And that's what came of it.
and that person lost their job and never worked in Hollywood again.
We should hope so, but probably
Man,
not.
I didn't know that. It makes sense though. I can see it. It was she wasn't like the only person in the world to do kind of the short wisp, like uber short wispy bangs thing. It just was very jarring, and it was bad short wispy bangs. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
Parker Posey as Jennifer Jolie is an incredible performance.
Hmm.
I mean, truly, I think more than anybody in this film, she looked at the script and knew exactly what movie she was about to
Yeah,
make. I
exactly.
think her, and who's the guy who plays the bodyguard? He's the voice on
Oh, Patrick,
he's so cute. He's such a babe.
yeah.
God damn it.
He
He's the
played the
voice.
Tick.
He played the Tick. He is
Yeah.
Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove.
Hmm. Warburton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Patrick Warburton.
I think he was on board too. I think he
Hmm.
got it. I also have to bring up shit. Who's the woman who plays the actress who's playing Sydney?
Angelina is the character.
Emily Mortimer,
Emily Mortimer. Hmm.
who plays Jack's fiance on 30 Rock. The
Yes,
woman with
yes, she does.
avian bone syndrome. She has hollow bone.
I have hollow bones, like a bird.
Just to have gotten her start in Scream 3 is so hilarious to me. She's not very good in the movie. Listen, I can hear every single one of you unsubscribing from my podcast right now because Scream 3 is my third favorite, and I don't have the strongest like backups to support it. It's just a vibe for me, man. I think it's fun to have a little bit of a break now that we have 6 movies. it's fun to
Right.
have a little bit of a break from the tone of hopelessness, and but we also
Hmm.
get that. I think that Roman is, while I think that he's a little bit out of nowhere to be Ghostface, I think he's a really good reveal. And I think that his whole going back to inspire Billy and Stu is kind of cool. Like, he orchestrated the whole thing from the beginning. I thought it was a great way to end a trilogy. And I do love the end of this film where she doesn't set the alarm to her house. And then she goes to watch a movie with her friends and the door swings open and she leaves the door open. And it's like, okay, we can leave Sydney like this. If this was truly going to be the last Scream film, this is a great way to leave her. She feels at
Hmm.
peace, she feels safe, and she has people around her that love her. The
Right.
proposal, Dewey and Gail, I think, is a lovely scene.
Hmm.
And it has its high points and it has its low points. And I will never fight anybody who hates this movie because I see you and I understand. But I love it. I really do. I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for giving me the space to hate this movie.
I love that Nick Cave re-recorded Red Right Hand with new lyrics specific to Scream 3.
Yeah, that is cool. Okay, so okay, like we said, there isn't a bad movie in this franchise. To me, I felt like this movie went in on the camp, which I love, but it wasn't like the subtleties of it that we had seen in Screams 1 and 2. It was full throttle, which is fun, but I don't think that's fun for a third film when you're encapsulating like a trilogy. I think that's fun for like a sequel, like the second. But I have to agree, Parker Posey, best part of the film. She brought in her Christopher Guestness
Yeah.
to the spooky franchise, which is amazing. I think there are some really fun moments in this movie. I think the opening scene is very fun,
Yeah, I love this opening scene.
with Christine and whatnot, and
Yeah, it's very good.
and yeah, and it felt like a Scream opening scene to me, where it was like there was like higher stakes, there was like layers to it, and I appreciated that, but I just felt that where it made up, in this camp, and like really like hit on some of the humor points, it lost in some of its horror. I don't think even seeing it when I was a kid, I was ever actually like scared. And I think the moments like Maureen in the window kind of just like cheapened everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I loved about it, about this film, is that you don't know Maureen. You don't know, like, she's just kind of like a figure, right? And I think the story would have been stronger if they kept her as just kind of a figure, as opposed to something that's haunting her literally, and just keeping it as like someone that's like, her past is haunting her the way that, Maureen's or Rita's, um, her past was haunting her. And I think, I think the story, and I think the way the story progresses throughout is great. I just think the execution isn't there the way that it is with 1 and 2. And 1 and 2, I just always felt that everything they did was so puzzle pieced together and so meticulous and intentional. And this one just didn't have that same feel to me.
I mean, I see it. I see
Mhm.
what you're saying, and I can't explain it, man. I just really love this movie.
Mhm.
I also love the battle between Roman and Sydney at the end. It's a brutal
It's
fucking
brutal
fight
and
scene. I
it's
love it. It
long.
starts out like them yelling at each other like siblings. Like, why don't you take some
Right.
fucking responsibility? Fuck you. And then they like tackle
Yes.
each other.
Fuck you. Fuck
Yeah,
you. And then they
they
just, yeah.
it's great. They take some
Yeah.
hits. I mean, the amount of punches and kicks to the face that any character in this movie is able to just recover from quickly is quite
Right.
impressive.
Well, and also like that was one thing that even when I saw it the first time, when I was maybe, 13, um, when I saw it the first time, I remember thinking that I was super shitty that they showed the bulletproof vest in the police station when she like looks up and she looks
Yeah,
over, and
because
then it
now you
shows the
know.
bullet. And I was like, now I know.
Yeah.
Of course we know. And then it goes on for like another 30 minutes. But then in the end, where she gets shot, and you're like, oh, Sydney shot. Like they made it feel that way, but you're like, you already know.
You showed me a bulletproof vest. You showed
Right.
her looking at it. Yeah.
And like to me overall, it felt like Scream 3 was meant for a simpler audience than Scream 2.
I'm not sure what you're implying when you say that to me. I will admit Jenny McCarthy's death is probably the worst in the series.
Oh, it's so boring.
It's so boring, and she's not great. I mean, all right, she's problematic because she's anti-vax, but
Mhm.
she's done some funny work. Like,
Oh yeah.
what's that comedy she made? Dirty Love. Have you seen that movie
No, but
with
I know which one you're
With
talking
Carmen
about.
Electra?
Yeah.
Dude, it's hilarious, and she's so
Really?
funny in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think she wrote it. Highly recommend. Carmen Electra
Mhm.
is it's a performance for the ages. She's so
Okay.
fucking amazing in this movie. She'll blow your
Yeah.
mind. I had no idea that she had that in her. Anyway, she's just
Huh.
funny. The movie's ridiculous. Jenny McCarthy's not great in this. I think she's miscast. I think she was cast because she's Jenny McCarthy.
I actually, you know what? I think she would have been good in it if they gave her more of the comedy to do.
Okay.
Like, I think if they had like structured punchlines for her, and if there were like funny moments in her chase scene, and like they were able to like they invested more time in exploring that, I actually think she would have been very good in it. I just feel like they didn't give her anything.
That's
Like
true.
they,
And she's in and out real fast.
right.
She's got like maybe two scenes, right?
She has a
Maybe
scene where
three.
she's sitting on the porch with
Right.
everyone,
Yeah.
and then yeah, her kill scene.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think she's in much more. But my thing about that too is like you I feel like they've made such a thing about like the dumb blondes, like, with Heather Graham playing the Drew Barrymore part in Stab, and like the way she flounces around and how she's in the shower instead of being like, just making popcorn. I feel like they could have added to that with her. And they just kind of missed the mark on that a bit.
Yeah.
But
I feel that.
yeah.
I also I do love Carrie Fisher in her cameo. That was actually written for Jamie Lee Curtis, and
Hmm.
she turned it down. I think it just would have been a little funnier with Jamie Lee Curtis, but Carrie Fisher is a great option. It's sure, but
Yeah.
I would love the universe where Jamie Lee Curtis makes that cameo as the girl who was almost cast in Halloween.
Right. Right. Yeah.
All right. Have we said everything we have to say about Scream 3?
Yeah, I mean, one more thing I do want to say is like I do like Roman as a killer. Um, and I think it made for very interesting storytelling. And I agree with your, thoughts around like how they structure the end, how they speak to each other. Um, but I don't know if I really like him as an actor. I think he was fine in this.
Do you think he's dreamy? I think he's dreamy.
Oh, I think he's so dreamy.
Yeah, he's so
Oh,
cute.
he's so dreamy.
I like him as
But
an
yeah,
actor. I think he comes off as a spoiled, like a entitled brat.
yeah,
Like
which is what
he
he's
is. I
supposed to
mean, I
be.
guess he's older than Sydney, but he comes off as a younger, annoying brother.
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway, yeah,
Scream
that's it.
3. I knew we'd have a lot to say about it. All right, Colin.
Hmm.
I mean, we're down to the line here. I think we can both guess what each other's second favorite film is, but why don't you go ahead and say it?
2.
Scream 2. We've both mentioned it. We can talk about it now. Why don't you take the lead?
Um, I think Scream 2 is the perfect sequel to Scream. I think they raised the stakes. I think they were able to put Sydney in more danger by creating unfamiliar territories with her. And I also think it felt more humanizing as like a college experience for anyone, than I think Scream 1 does about a high school experience for anyone. And I think that was actually rectified in Scream 4. Like I think the the overall, high school lifestyle and interests were really like hit well in Scream 4. And I feel like Scream 1, it's kind of just like, all right, you're all a little too old for high school. And
Yeah.
you're just kind of, playing these parts. But Scream 2 felt very real to me. It felt like she's away, she doesn't know people, she's having kind of like issues getting to know people, but she's also at the same time like just looking to move on. And I think they really did a great job of building that into the story and how like the chase scenes happen, how like the finale happens with her being on stage. And then like, and that was something I actually really love is like you have this feeling with her that she's like doesn't know where she fits in. She doesn't like, really know where she's going, what's happening in her life at this time as she's react to it. And at the very end, she's on stage and she knows every single rigging system. She knows how to, drop the lights. She knows how to do all these things. It's like the space that she owns, and like this is her territory. And I think it's a really great way of showing her moving on to the next phase of her life, even though that continues to come back. I also think Scream 2 has the best chase scenes in the series. I think there are more thrilling moments in Scream 2 than there are in Scream 1. Sarah Michelle Gellar's chase scene is so fun. It's so, so fun. Especially because oftentimes she goes to kind of like break the rules that are like already established. I think Gail's scene in the studio, in the sound studio, is like just hold your breath. It makes you hold your breath the entire time. It's fun, and I thought it was fun how they, how the Dewey attack happens in that scene, and how she's on the other side of the glass, but she can't see it, and it's like kind of right in front of her. And I think that is a really cool metaphor for who she is as a person, where it's like the right thing to do is always right in front of her, but she just never sees it. And I think it was a really great way to build her up as a character. Nev as a character, I think Dewey as character is built up such a way. I think they really raised the stakes by killing off Randy and doing it in, right in the middle of the college campus and the middle of the day. I think it's I think it's such a worthy follow-up that I honestly can't think about Scream 1 without thinking about Scream 2. So that's where I'm at.
Highly respectable. People adore this movie. There are people who prefer this to the original Scream.
Mhm.
Might have to do a little bit with their age, maybe, but I think it's a hell of a sequel. And you are right. Some of the best chase scenes, Gale's running through that AV studio, the cop car scene is so
Oh, yes.
tense.
Yeah.
The opening scene, all right, I'm about to get canceled. I think Wes could have reined Jada in just a little bit. Like she's over the top she's in Scream 3 when it comes to over the top performing.
Well, she's also in Jurassic Park with some of those screams. So
yeah, it is a great opening, and I love it. She is good in it. She's just a little too much for me, but also what a great way to bring us back into the world of Scream and introduce Stab as a franchise, right?
Mhm.
And Laurie Metcalf as Mrs. Loomis,
I mean,
for
you can't
me,
ask for anyone better.
is maybe the best performance of the entire series.
Oh yeah.
Because here's the thing, Laurie Metcalf, first off, she's Aunt Jackie from Roseanne. Like, you're never going to suspect her in a million fucking years. But
Mhm.
if you have watched the movie and you go back and watch it, you can tell that there's something behind her. Like, she's fucking crazy from start to finish. You can
Right.
tell that Debbie Salt, who she's pretending to be, is a fucking maniac.
Well, the camera always lingers on her a little bit.
And
Like
she
Wes
has
was always very good about
reactions.
creating
Yeah.
suspension that way.
Yeah. And you watch her reactions, especially between her and Gail, and it's there. I love her motive, and I love her delivery. She says something to the effect of like, for me, it's just good old fashioned revenge. And I can't
Mhm.
think of anything more sane than that, right? Like, she is pissed because her son got murdered and
Right.
she's crazy. I think that Mickey as the other ghost face is a waste of, it's just a red herring.
Mhm.
You don't know who he is the whole time, and you don't understand his motive, and then he's dead, you know?
Right.
But so these are things that I love about the movie. For me, the whole theatrical set piece at the end is silly. Watch when Hollywood tries to showcase the theatrical experience, it's just dumb to me.
It's
Like,
never correct.
it's never correct. And from a complete inability to leave this stage, You know, it's insane to me that they can't hop over the orchestra, or that there's no exit through the wings or anything like that, right?
Mhm.
To to having set piece boulders and rocks that are bouncing be enough to stop you, you know, to
Yeah.
Sydney hacking away at the fly system willy-nilly, and it just like that's not how fly systems go. To a soundboard, a sound and light board being backstage, which doesn't happen, right? That
No,
should be in the booth.
never.
And the
Yep.
soundboard looks like Frankenstein's laboratory, like it's got like a pull the lever kind of thing on it. It's too much. Now it's dramatic,
Yeah.
and you know, in theory, it's cool looking. It's
Mhm.
just like these people have never been on a you know, in a theatrical production ever. They just, I don't know. It comes off
Yeah.
as silly to me.
The blocks always got me because I mean they're styrofoam. They're always styrofoam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is always something that got me because I'm like, okay, like she's not gonna be like knocked out from this. Like this is not gonna be like
Not at all.
knocking her down in
And
any
I
way.
do
Like,
think it's Laurie Metcalf's performance that makes the blocks work.
right. Well, also like I guess my only thing would be like if you don't see that coming and there's like a disorientation around it, like
Right.
maybe she's just like disoriented and
Yeah.
is like getting her bearings again. But like,
Well, and they do a
yeah,
good job of filming it as though this stage is you're trapped on it. You don't
right.
see a lot of shots of the house, right? It is
Mhm.
filming as though this is this is your space, this
Right.
stage. But in reality, you hop over this orchestra and you've got lots of places to run and hide.
Yeah. Yeah, you could literally leave the theater. I mean, granted, they have the guns though. That's the only thing. Or maybe, hear me out. Maybe it kind of adds to Sydney's growth that she isn't running away from it.
Sure. No, I mean
That she is staying there and she is
when
keeping it
she
there.
gets backstage, she could run and get away, right?
Right.
But she
And she chooses not
chooses
to.
not to, and I love that for her. I think Rebecca Gayheart is misused, but I don't think was she a big deal yet. She had
Um,
auditioned for the role of the roommate and she didn't get it, but she did
right.
get placed in this like very sidelined, silly character. The roommate to me is very misused. So here's what happened with that script, and I'm sure you know
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
This it was kind of the first case of a script being leaked on the internet. And so the original ending was that the roommate and the boyfriend, Jerry O'Connell, were going to be the killers, working under Mrs. Loomis. Well, everyone found this out, so they had to change things. And I think it's a little apparent, especially just the roommate character suffers a lot for that. We're just to assume that she and Sydney are close friends, but we see very little bonding or anything between them. The whole Jerry O'Connell singing in the cafeteria scene is cringe AF to watch. If a man did that to me, it would be over. I'd be out of the room before he finished the song.
If Sebastian Stan did that to me at a little restaurant in Rome,
Where you had rubbed shoulders.
as we rub shoulders all night long.
Right. Yeah. I hope that happens for you next time you see him.
Thank you so much.
It's a great movie. And I think it is a great continuation of the original film. Like you said, it puts Sydney in an unfamiliar place. It shows her, a friend of mine pointed out to me last night, we were texting. He said it shows Sydney when she still believes that she can have a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great point. You know, she has no idea that this is ever going to happen to her again, let alone again and again and again. Right.
Yeah.
The script leak is actually, and just to quickly go back to 3, it's another reason that a lot of that movie is so disjointed. The cast was only given 10 pages at a time of that script as they were shooting. It was being rewritten a lot as it was going. And so no one really knew where they were going with that movie anyway, because they had limited access to the script.
Right.
2, nothing wrong with it. It's a great movie. I only placed it so low on my list. It's my number 5 because I just take more out of the others that I put before it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
I
And
disagree. I mean, you're wrong, but
I'm just going to say it. I've said it on this podcast before. And Paul from Scared Gay, if you're listening, I want you to cover your ears right now, but I am not a big Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. There, I said it, and I don't have to take it back. Oh no, Colin's face. Oh no. He's logging off. He's left.
Disconnected.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I never have.
Did you watch Buffy in real time?
So I'm a firm believer.
Did you watch Buffy?
I was gonna answer.
Well, now my blood pressure's through the
I
roof.
know.
I don't know what to do.
I'm a firm believer that you are a Buffy movie fan or a Buffy series fan, and I found the film first, and so Christy Swanson was my Buffy, and then I know.
I don't understand, because I think you would love the show.
And then I recently rewatched the Buffy movie, and it is not good.
No, it's awful. That's the thing. Like, it's a terrible film.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I thought it was great.
Right, and
it's a kids movie.
It's target audience. Yeah. And so Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, is like the adult version of that.
I know. I have tried. I think if I had found it when I was younger, I'm sure I would have loved it. But trying to come into it in my adult years, can't do it, man.
I will say the first season it's good. It's very good. But I would say it's not the season that's gonna like grip you and keep you watching. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate when people say this to me where they're like, oh, you just have to get past the first 10 episodes. I'm like, that's 10 hours of my life. Like, I don't need that. I don't need to torture for 10 hours to like another 20 hours. Yeah. But I would say season 1 of that show it's incredible. It's incredibly original. It's so fun, but it's not Buffy at its best by any means.
Listen, when I can do schlocky. Okay, you're gonna be. I didn't mean to upset you by saying Buffy is schlocky, but like teeny bopper horror is like, I'm a Supernatural guy. Like 15 years of that. That is where I was when you were watching Buffy. I was watching Supernatural. You know.
But Buffy leaves the teeny bopper horror after a while. Like, as she grows up, it leaves.
I mean,
that.
So does Supernatural.
Right. I stopped watching Supernatural.
My current job where I work right now, David Boreanaz comes there all the time. It's attached to a hotel, and he's a guest at the hotel frequently. And
I need to go there.
And he hangs out, and he is like he's just like nice to the staff. We all know him, and he knows all of us. He's a cool guy. Taller than I thought, but that makes sense, and still just as handsome as ever.
I need to go there and rub shoulders with him. And I literally mean that.
like you did with Sebastian Stan. Oh God, never mind. I take it back. I've never seen David at my job ever. All right, Scream 2. Anything else we have to say about it before we close this chapter?
No, but what is your number 2 ranking?
Scream 6.
Okay.
And it took. I'm gonna take this one. It took me a while to admit that, because I had this deep-rooted inner shame that Scream 6 is my second favorite in the franchise so early on. You know what I mean? Did it earn this? Does it deserve this?
I mean, you put it at 2 and I put it at 3.
Yeah, it's a fucking good movie. So I was reading a review today. Someone that I know wrote a scathing review, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, first off, I know you hate horror movies. Second off, you went into this movie knowing you just wanted to complain about it because it's so popular. Third, this is not a review. This is a blog post. You are bitching and you are actively telling readers, like, don't come for me on Twitter. Like, your defense, you're not reviewing the movie. You're just telling us that you hate horror, right? This movie was not made with him or people, of his taste in mind. This film was made for fans. And that's what I really respect about Radio Silence taking on the reins of this, is that they are fans. And as a horror fan, as someone who has a horror podcast, I tell people, and I get like side eye, the makers of the Scream franchise don't give a fuck. The studio is trusting them because the profits are showing up, right?
Right.
And the profits are showing up because they're crushing it. This is the 6th installment. This should not be as good of a movie as it is, right? We think of Nightmare 6, Freddy's Dead, or, well, I guess number 6 in Friday the 13th is one of the best. Regardless. Oh, Halloween 6 is awful. Curse of Michael Myers. Awful. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it's awful.
Yeah, of course. But it's not a good movie.
Scream 6. I was, I think it is the most scared I have ever been in a Scream movie, besides when I was a child watching the first one.
Mhm.
Edge of my seat, hands clasped on the sides of my face, literally like that painting, The Scream. Like that was me through half the movie. Very intense, so brutal. It felt like the creators felt okay to move forward, right? Five really kind of bridges, if four bridges the gap between the original trilogy and this new one, five bridged the gap between Wes Craven and the direction that they're headed. I think that the use of seeing Billy Loomis in the reflection was just enough. And yes, at
Mhm.
the end of the film, she drops the mask. I think we're not going to see Billy Loomis anymore. And I'm okay with that. It was
More
divisive,
than
but
okay with that.
it served a purpose, right? Performances are incredible. Now, a couple of critiques, and I have to say, I'm glad they got the Jason Takes Manhattan reference out of the way in the opening scene, because we all knew it was coming once it was over. And they didn't show, it's brilliant because they don't show Jason in Manhattan. The only times they show him, he's on the boat, which is what everybody hates
Right.
about that movie. I love that movie. But so, so now I can focus on the rest of the movie because I've had my giggle, right?
Mhm.
If I'm going to complain about anything, I guessed that the cop was Ghostface super early when
Mhm.
he says, "I need you to run a background check on this Kirby girl." I knew then, and then I really knew when he told Sam Kirby's lost her mind, she lost her job, get out of there. I knew that was a trap, right?
Yeah.
I also didn't have the reaction I think they were going for when you find out that Quinn did not die.
Mhm.
Mainly because I thought she was annoying while she was alive. She started out and I was like, oh, she's cool. I like her. Oh no, God, no.
Yeah.
It's like you meet somebody, like maybe a coworker, and you're like, oh, you're great. And then you spend more time with it. Like you go out with them after work and you're like, you're a fucking mess.
Right. And then you'll never find them be great at work again, which is why
Never
you don't
again.
go out with your coworkers.
Right.
Mhm.
So when her reveal, I wasn't that surprised about. Uh, she just didn't do a lot for me.
Mhm.
But the set piece at the end was pretty cool, like the abandoned theater, with kind of the
Yeah.
shrine, because you're commenting on horror collectors, right? All of these
Mhm.
people who collect horror memorabilia and Michael Myers masks and figures and toys, and well, hello, that's what these kids were doing, just with Scream evidence. I think it's a stretch that the cop was able to replace his daughter's corpse with a real corpse, and a stretch that the cop was able to help these boys get all of this evidence to keep on display.
Mhm.
But I'm okay with it somehow. It works. I also loved the
Yeah.
callbacks to Scream 2, the parallels that they were doing, right? Because this is a new trilogy and it makes me curious what's going to happen in the next one, but we'll talk about that later. Colin, tell me about Scream 6.
Okay, so I agree with you on just about everything. I did see the cop coming as one of the killers. I also saw Quinn coming as one of the killers for the fact that like if he was going to be that like someone was going to be teaming up with him, and I was like, it's gonna be a father-daughter. I didn't fully expect them to be connected to Richie. I
Mm-hmm.
actually wasn't really thinking about the motive, more so I was thinking about like who they were.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually a really cool thing. It harks back to Scream 2. Almost everything in this movie harks back to Scream 2. You have the park scene, and they reference Randy getting killed in the van, and they're in a van in the park. And then throw them off from that chase by having it be Gail's apartment instead. So that was something I thought was really cool and really respected. The abandoned movie theater at the end, it's a theater. It's where they're, showing art, this art form, which is very much Scream 2.
Mm-hmm.
The familial connection, of course, Scream 2. Um, yeah, it felt like the first one, they were just trying to start the series, but this one felt like they were paying homage to like something. It really felt
Yeah.
like it was like a dedication,
Chad
and how it was
surviving kind of
created.
at the end. We've got a
Chad surviving,
heartbeat and
he's the
Chad
new
survives.
Dewey.
He's the new Dewey, right? Goofy
Yep.
and lovable. God, I have such a cry. I call him Cutie Gooding Jr. He's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son.
Yeah, he is.
Mason
He's so
Goody.
sexy. No, but I felt like, going back to Scream 2 and the car scene, I felt that way about the latter scene.
The latter scene was so fucking good,
It
man.
was so intense.
Yeah,
And like they do show that in the previews, but they don't show an outcome. And the way that they splice it in the previews is like you have no idea who's on the ladder when that's about to happen.
so
So
I still haven't seen the trailer. I didn't see the trailer for 5, and that's why the reveal of Stumacher's house was such a surprise to me when we saw the movie.
yeah.
And so I didn't watch. I still haven't watched the trailer for 6 because I specifically wanted, literally, I wanted to go in completely blind. I don't even care
Mhm.
if there were no spoilers. I didn't want to see what this movie was even going to look like. You know?
So if you could really quick just reenact what your face was when the phone rings and Gail picks up the phone and it's the killer.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Because they show that in the trailer and you're like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was my favorite scene. And honestly, I think that might have actually been one of my favorite chase scenes in the entire
it's great.
franchise.
Well, and you know what I
It is
appreciate is that
good.
she comes for Ghostface. She's
Yep.
done running. She has run in the past. She's
Hmm.
fucking over it. I've got a gun and I'm going to come after you and put up a fight. You know, I
Hmm.
love how like inconsequential the death of her boyfriend is.
It was just such a throwaway.
All
Talk
that
about
must
sexy. Woof.
Yeah, seriously. And he got no screen time,
Yep.
which is appropriate too, you know? Like
Mhm.
he's not Dewey. Like that was the love of her life, you
But
know?
also you catch a glimpse of a picture of her and Dewey.
Yeah,
So like clearly it's like I don't even think it's a boyfriend. I think it's like someone who's just like happens to be there, you know?
sure.
Um, like yeah, it just I that entire scene was amazing. And honestly, like, in Scream 1, she, comes in and is part of saving the day. She sat in Scream 5, she sat in Scream 2. She always eventually comes for the killer.
Hmm.
This was really fun because it was like the killers come for her and she's fighting back. It's not like, waiting till the final frame to like show her as a strong character. It was like halfway through the film where
Yeah,
she's badass and
really
just
a
yeah.
brutal battle and so good. And I mean, I
Yeah.
love we get a fight scene in the realistic Manhattan apartment, right? Toward the
Hmm.
beginning, and then we get a fight scene in the oh, this is how the 1%
Right.
lives apartment in
Right.
Manhattan.
That's how everyone else in Manhattan lives.
Man, when you think she died, it
Oh, that
was
stab. I was
it was
like, oh, they're playing
so
the music.
stressful. It was so
Yeah.
stressful. And I'm glad that they didn't wait until the end of the movie to let us know there's a heart, she's holding on a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. They let you know pretty well. So right after they're like, oh, she's still alive and they take her off. And the moment that happened, I was like, okay, she's gonna make it. She's not
there
gonna like die in the
is there
hospital.
is speculation that that was added after, because if I'm not wrong, it's an ADR, like it's someone, it's a voiceover. You don't see someone's
Hmm.
lips moving when they say it. Am I correct?
Correct.
And
Both
then
times,
they
actually.
yeah, they say it again at the very end as well. And
Yeah.
so it's speculated that they changed their minds. I don't know if this is true or not. I have no grounds for
Yeah.
that.
I wonder if they maybe did test screenings and they added that in last minute.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm
That's
so
interesting.
glad that she didn't die. I think that
Yeah.
losing Dewey in the last one, if we lose her so soon, it's a little predictable and it's a little much.
Yeah.
I mean, with especially not having Sydney moving forward, and we'll talk about that too. I
Hmm.
think if we can, I mean, we'll get Gail for probably one more movie, and she might die in the next one. She very
Well,
well.
I mean, they're bringing Seven back, which we saw with Wes's famous signature of the end of his films always have a flash of Ghostface across the screen, like you know that it's insinuating that Ghostface is coming back, and so
Right.
that was his whole thing. And they did that at the end of the movie, so that was
Yeah.
very exciting to
Well,
me.
they announced Seven even before this one was released,
Right?
because of positive. I mean, I think it was always greenlit.
Yeah. I mean, Scream 5
The
did so well,
so the
like
opening
literally
scene,
against all odds.
yeah, opening scene in 6 was, I wasn't in love with the Samara Weaving part, and I
Okay.
wasn't in love with seeing Ghostface take off his mask, and then you're following this doofus around.
Hmm.
But it came together for me.
I actually loved it because I felt like they did something different in 5 with having her survive the
Yeah,
opening scene. Um, and so I liked that they did something different in this opening scene as well, of like just taking off the mask. I did have a moment where I was like, are we gonna know who Ghostface is this entire time?
Right.
Like,
I wondered that too. Yeah.
yeah, and I was about to be upset about it. And then I loved how they played the whole scene in that apartment. I mean, I didn't love like the chopped up body in the freezer or in the fridge, because that just didn't feel Scream to me, but like it worked enough and it made sense.
The movie
And
was a
also the
lot
like,
gorier. It
mhm,
was certainly the most gory in all of them, because even the boyfriend's body in the bathtub as well was kind of
that
atypical
quick
for the
flash.
series. But I think maybe the body in the fridge a little bit reminded me of Friday the 13th Part 2.
Right.
I don't know if
Mhm.
that was intentional. It could have been, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, I mean, it's been done before, and I feel like it was like a nod to that, which I appreciate. It just felt like it was out of place
Sure.
to everything else.
Yeah.
But and then of course I loved like when he slices his stomach and his intestines were starting to like peek out, where I'm like, oh, it's always the intestines. It was
Yeah.
always the intestines in Scream,
Yeah.
um, which I loved. Yeah, that I honestly I loved the story. I thought they did a really great job of continuing what could have been a dud of a story and building something new out of it. And I also loved that like they were in college, like Scream 2 was in college, that they were at a
Mhm.
different point in their lives. And I loved that they were able to kind of split Sydney's experience, which is like not being able to let go of the past, but also trying really hard to like work towards the future into two separate characters.
Yeah.
I thought that built them both up together and it makes them a more dynamic team. So that way, in the end, it didn't feel corny to me when she's like, let me go. And she's like,
Right.
hanging off the
That could
balcony.
have
It
been
didn't feel
really
corny.
that could have been stupid, but
Yeah.
they play such good sisters, you
Hmm.
know? They
Yeah.
really do.
Right.
Uh I
Yeah.
I also think that people weren't sure what to expect without Nev Campbell.
Right.
And I first off really appreciate how the filmmakers and the cast and legacy cast members and even the fans understand and support Nev Campbell for not continuing,
Yeah. Hmm.
because I mean, she's right. She brings a certain value to the franchise and they weren't willing
Yeah.
to pay her, and they would have if she were a man. And there's just no way around that truth,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And the film did an incredible job of honoring her. I like that Gail said she deserves her happy ending, right?
Hmm.
And even that she made the choice, they gave her, they she took her family somewhere safe, right?
Right.
This is her life now. She can't
Yeah.
keep coming back. And I mean, you know, with Dewey gone and maybe even her complicated relationship with Gail, she's not going to put her family in danger. And that
Right.
just made sense. Listen,
Hmm.
she could come back one day. A little bit of me thought that maybe she was going to surprise us in this one, but
Yeah, I kind of had that thought too.
I'm okay that she didn't.
Yeah. But as long as Gail is alive, I think there's an opportunity to bring Sydney back.
Yeah.
Like, because, and part of it too is like, I'm unpopular opinion. I was actually kind of happy to hear that she wasn't coming back for this. I feel like it had gotten to a point where it was a little forced, like her coming back. It felt
Mhm.
like, like Dewey was already there, so that makes sense. Gail has a motive because she's always chasing the story and she's a part of the story. So like that makes sense. But with her, it's like, here are these attacks that are happening again to people who you don't know,
Right.
who, the people you did know are now dead. So like, what is her motive to keep coming back?
Yeah.
And I felt like if they brought her back in this, it would have felt tired to me.
Well,
It
and
would have
even
felt like,
in five cream, she only comes back because Dewey dies.
right,
You
right.
know?
So like, and that's something that's like higher stake for her, which I understand, and it's more emotionally built than it was in four, where she was just doing like the book tour
A
and
book tour.
whatnot, right? But like it. And it felt genuine, and she didn't feel overused in five, also because she's really only in like the second half.
Right.
So that felt good. I just felt like if they brought her back to this, I would have thought it was a little forced.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so I was actually very much okay with her not being there. I hope she comes back for seven. What concerns me is like what would motivate her to come back, and I think that would be to kill off Gale in the opening scene.
Well, we'll get to that. I
But
think
we'll see.
we will
Ooh.
see. I definitely want to talk about that. I also have to mention this film's four leads are four people of color,
Hmm.
and none of them are killed.
Yep.
And that's just unheard of. And they're four people that we fucking love. Like I
Yeah.
really care about these characters. And when
All
they
of them.
do inevitably start getting killed off, because they will, this is Scream, it's
Yeah.
gonna be really heartbreaking.
Yeah. I thought Mindy was actually going to get killed because Randy got killed in two.
Yeah,
So I thought they were going to kill off Mindy
yeah.
in that subway scene because the way they set it up in the trailer is that you think Mindy is with them and
Right.
that they're all with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
group.
I did see
And so
that
when
was the
she,
first clip that they ever released. And I did see that clip. That
yeah,
was the only thing I had seen going into this. And yeah, it was like they were all together, and then suddenly
right,
they're not. I loved
right.
on the platform when the guy is dressed as Michael Myers and people are chanting, "Evil dies tonight."
Evil dies tonight!
So good.
It is so good.
Fuck Halloween
Yeah.
Kills.
Yeah, fuck Halloween
I
Kills. Correct.
if Halloween Ends is divisive and some people loved it and some people hated it, at least we can all agree that Halloween Kills was a terrible movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, JLC, she got her Oscar. That's all I care about.
Yes, she did. And she thanked the heart. Well, she thanked her genre fans, but
To all of the people who have supported the genre movies that I have made for all these years, the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, we just won an Oscar together.
She thanked us personally, like you and me. Like I heard it. Did you hear it?
we won an Oscar.
We won an Oscar.
It was a great speech. It really was.
It was a
And,
fantastic speech.
even I mean, first off, her thanking horror fans, and then also when as she's going to the stage, the announcer saying, got her start in the original Halloween, and now 45 years later produced the final installment, and it's like, holy shit, you just talked about Halloween at
Right,
the
at the
Oscars.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any other points we need to make about 6?
No, I think I'm in a good spot.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being my guest host today.
Of
And
course.
listeners, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week.
Hey, are we not talking about Scream?
I'm just kidding. Obviously, we are. Colin, what's your number one?
It is Scream.
Scream. Same Z's.
Mhm.
Scream. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a surprise.
honestly though, like, what do we have to say about it at this point? We have so much to say, but
the movie's
it-
been studied and talked about to
it's-
death, but
yeah,
I think we can give a little bit at
we can
least.
give it
right?
give it a little shoulder, just like
This
it did
movie-
to Sebastian.
God, this movie did raise a generation, and like I
Mhm.
said before, it has characters that you really do care about, and they're kind of like not your usual characters. Dewey should not have survived this movie. He is such a throwaway character. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But he's so good that you can't kill him off. You just can't.
Right.
It's a case of completely perfect casting.
Yeah.
Everyone is absolutely flawless in their performances in this movie. Even Henry
Mhm.
Winkler, which I always thought was a weird casting choice, works
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason. Why is he in this movie?
Yeah, I'm curious how that came to be, but I guess maybe he wasn't doing a lot at that time.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Rose McGowan is perfect as Tatum, and I think Tatum's death was kind of like a genre shift in a way, because you expect that death to be coming from, or be coming to, I guess, the girl who she's making fun of that entire scene.
Mhm.
You're expecting it to go to like the dumb throwaway character, like the best friend that nobody cares about that just jumps in on like a line here and there and then gets killed in an absurd way. And instead it happens to the smart, wisecracking kind of badass in the whole movie. And yeah, I just think it calls itself out in so many ways, and then it stops itself and changes
Yeah.
as it continues to go. I mean, I thought it was big to quote unquote kill off Billy Loomis and then have him come back in the final frames as being the killer, and
Yeah.
having like, a motivation that's outside of just wanting to do it or, just being crazy. I just think it did so much in paying tribute to like what came before it while also just changing the game completely. And I think there's so much respect to be had there.
Yeah.
Even if it's
From
not your favorite of them, like you have to respect the origins, you know?
Well, and from Drew Barrymore originally being cast as Sydney and then taking the Janet Leigh psycho route and saying, "What if we
Hmm.
kill me off in the first 8 minutes of this movie?"
Right.
It's I mean that to me, and this there are certain movies that I wish I were older when they came out because she was the face on the poster. You went to
Right.
this movie and you thought this was a Drew Barrymore movie, and then she gets gutted and hung in the
Right.
first fucking 8 to 10 minutes of this movie. Mind
Hmm.
blowing, like so smart, definitely an ode to Psycho and Hitchcock.
Yeah.
The if you go back and watch it, there are just, you know, knowing that there are two killers when you go back makes so much sense on how they get away with it, but you don't know there are, so anybody could be the killer. Even
Right.
man, like when they tell Drew Barrymore, like they give her two doors to go through, one, I'm behind one, I'm not behind the other. There was one of them behind both doors. Like she was never going to survive this.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
terrifying. It's so sad. And it's just a fucking good, it's a perfect film.
It's a fantastic film. And it's interesting too, talking about the two killers, it allows them to go a very like supernatural route where it's like it doesn't fully make sense that one person could be doing all of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you have like, the creatures like Freddy and Jason and even Michael, like where they're like subhuman or they're not human at all. And that works for those genres. This creates the same effect of just it's unbelievable that one person could do this, and then you find
Yeah.
out that it's two, and
It's
it makes
rooted in
sense.
it's rooted in reality. So now it makes
Mhm.
sense that there are two. Yeah, that's a brilliant point. That's so good.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um
but it still creates that same feeling. Yeah,
Matthew
Um,
Lillard, Matthew Lillard as Stu is, I mean, over the
brilliant.
top in the
He's,
best possible way. I
he's
did think
brilliant
it
at
was
everything.
funny in 6 when Mindy says, you talking about Stu, and she goes, "Yeah, if you believe he's dead." Because everyone on the
Yeah,
internet is trying to convince
yeah.
us that Stu could still be alive.
Like no, no,
I
and
so
maybe I don't
Wasn't it
know.
rumored that he was on the set for Scream 6?
Yeah,
So
there was a rumor around that for a while.
what if he is going to be in 7, but they filmed his scenes during 6 so that he wouldn't be on the set while they were filming 7, so everyone's surprised when 7 comes out?
Maybe,
Well,
maybe.
we'll get into speculation in just a moment. Anything
Yeah.
else that's like dying to get out of you about the original Scream?
I mean, I think it's just so well done, and yeah, I mean, no notes really,
No notes. Truly.
no notes,
I always
no
found
notes.
I did when especially when I was a kid, I found Tatum's death to be a little confusing. Of like, how can a garage door hold up a human, and then suddenly it's her head that's crushed, and like not, it didn't line up for me, but I'm not complaining. I'll go with it.
Well, I think because it's her neck that gets crushed. I think her neck gets snapped and folded in, and then her
Yeah,
head gets put in like wedged there.
sure.
So like that's how I always took it. Um, yeah, the weight thing. I mean, it was also like, you know, the 90s, and it was that we were still in that pinnacle time where things were being made so well that people were getting hurt by them. Like
Sure.
elevators were like
Yeah.
people were still getting crushed by the doors closing. Like
Now
things
machinery is
were
not meant to last more than 2 years.
right. Yeah, now it's all throwaway.
Also, she
So like
weighs she weighs all of like 80 pounds, so there's that
right.
too.
Yeah, she's like 4'10" and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, perfect casting. Randy, I mean,
Mhm.
Jamie Foxx is so adorable and
Yeah.
stupid and weird and goofy, and Skeet
Mhm.
Ulrich, what a babe. It's just, and Nev Campbell, no one could. Nev's ability to breathe act, like act through her gasps and her
Yep.
breath is very impressive. You don't see that often.
Well, it's perfect for Final Girl.
Yeah.
It's perfect for that because it's all expression,
Yep.
and that's what you need out of that type of character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have
Well,
ranked the Scream sequels. Let me ask you this before I let you go. What do you have any predictions for the future of Scream?
so I think they're going to do 7. I kind of hope they leave it at 7 to be honest with you. Um, I am curious how, if they follow the track of, kind of keeping it like similar motives and similar structures to the original three. I'm curious, what about Sam and Tara's mom? Like
We have not. We haven't seen her.
we haven't seen her. We haven't heard anything about her. Um,
She was out of town in Scream 5, right?
right. And now
Yeah.
they're away from her.
Yeah.
And also Samantha like doesn't speak to her mother anyway.
Right, right.
So I'm curious if there'll be something brought in there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think Scream 7, if it's going to be the final chapter, I do think there's going to be something big that happens to one of our big characters. Um, or maybe two of our big characters, We have
Yeah.
two brother sister, or the brother sister, and then we have the sister sister. Like
Sure.
something could happen there. I'm curious as to how they're going to continue the story, if they're going to keep it in New York, if they're going to go elsewhere.
I say
Um,
it's just city to city, international. Let's do Scream in Las Vegas. Let's do Scream in
you know,
London,
yeah, fuck it,
Tokyo.
Belgium. Let's go.
Yeah. Why
Let's
not
go.
Antarctica? And then from there,
Ooh,
space.
yeah.
In space, no
Where
one can hear you scream.
where no one can hear you, Five Cream.
I do. All right. Can I give you a little prediction for an opening scene that I would love to see?
Yes.
We open on Gail Weathers, who is going about her business, right? Maybe she's got a limp like Dewey did because she's been so injured.
Mhm.
And she gets a phone call, and Gail Weathers answers the phone, and it's Ghostface. And she's like, "You fucking come and get me. I'm so sick of your shit." And then you're like, well, this is the opening scene. Gail Weathers is going to be the one who dies in the opening scene, but she kills Ghostface. And then the other Ghostface is like, fuck, my partner died. What am I going to do? And then the rest of the movie, maybe we only have one Ghostface who's like, oh, doesn't have a partner. I don't know. They're like hobbled from the beginning.
I feel like this kind of already happened though, in this, with her big chase, other than killing a ghost face.
I would like to see her kill a Ghostface again.
I would like to see them go back to a traditional opening scene for 7, if it's a final one. I think it's cool that they, changed up 5. I think it's cool they changed up 6. I would love to just see a traditional, like, badass chase scene out of that.
Yeah.
And I hope it's someone like Shawn Mendes, like a big name that they just, get in for this opening scene and then they get killed off, like similar to Drew, yeah, I'm curious as to where they're going to go. I think there's going to have to, I think at least one of the core 4 is going to have to die in 7.
Yeah.
I think there's just too many people for you to be like, oh no, they're all alive. It's totally fine. I'm curious if one of them will be the killer. I don't know. I think there's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it'll probably go back to Woodsboro for 7. They took a chance with New York and it worked out very well, and they did a lot with it, which is great. But
I don't know that Sam and Tara would go back. Like, what do they have in Woodsboro to go home to?
Mother.
I thought it was so funny when they put the Ghostface mask on Debbie Salt's white suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 6. Colin,
Yeah.
I am so grateful that you took the time to talk about Scream with me. I knew you'd be the perfect guest
Of
for
course.
this. I think it's been a hell of an episode.
I'm so happy that we got to do this.
Can you tell my listeners where they can stalk you?
Oh, yeah, you can stalk me on Instagram. My handle is HolmesSlice88, HolmesSlice88. And yeah, that's where you can stalk me.
And friends, you can stalk me, Ricky the host, at Rick the letter R Treat. That's Rick or Treat. You can read my reviews for films at spoilerfreereviews.com, and you can read my contributions to Rue Morgue magazine at rue-morgue.com. I've been featured on the homepage a number of times now. It's super exciting to be a part of that. Nice. Other than that, listen, a number of you have been subscribing, and I've seen an uptick in my downloads and numbers of listeners recently. And so welcome to all of you who might be new to my podcast. I'm so grateful that you found me, and please reach out. I love hearing from listeners. I think it's really exciting and fun. I have a little on the website that I use to keep track of downloads. I can see on a map all over the world, like the general vague area of where people download. And it's been really amazing to see that people have listened all over the world. So say hi. You can follow the show at Rick or Treat Pod on Instagram. I have gotten a TikTok handle. It's the same at Rick or Treat Pod, but I'm too old to figure it out. I promise I will. And by the time this episode comes out, I think my website will be up and running. That's going to be rickortreat.com. It's being designed by my very good friend Evelyn DeVere, and I cannot wait to launch that. Keep an eye out for merch. That's coming pretty soon. And I think that's all I got. Rate, review, slap that like button, whatever you youngsters do these days. And thank you very much for listening. We'll see y'all later, spookies.
Thanks for coming Rick or Treating. You can follow the show on Instagram at Rick or Treat Pod. It'd be a real scream if you'd take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review the show on whatever platform you're listening on. The show's spooky intro and outro music is a cover of Camille Saint-Saëns' Danse Macabre, with orchestrations composed and performed by Lestat von Monlicht. Links to the artist's music can be found in the episode description. Check him out, he's frighteningly talented. Rick or Treat Horrorcast is independently produced by me, Ricky J. Duarte of Rick or Treat Productions. If you like what you heard, tell a friend. If you didn't, well, they're coming to get you, listener.
Evil dies tonight!